The truth I thought I could bury. My name is Raina Whitaker. I'm 36. And I'm writing this not because I want sympathy, but because I need to say it aloud, even if no one is listening. My life as I knew it collapsed under the weight of a truth I thought I could carry alone. I met Miles when we were 16. High school sweethearts, young, bright-eyed, the kind of couple people expected to last forever. And we did for a while. We got married in our mid-20s, built a quiet life in the suburbs, and celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary just last spring. To the outside world we were solid. To our friends we were that couple, the ones others came to for relationship advice. Miles was the kind of husband who still held my hand in public. He kissed my forehead every morning before leaving for work. He looked at me like I hung constellations in the sky. And in a way, I did everything I could to be worthy of that. I kept myself fit, dressed well, played the doting wife. I wasn't just trying to impress him. I believed a woman should never stop trying. Maybe that's why other men noticed me too. Even after marriage. Even after the honeymoon stage had long passed. I'm not saying that to be smug. It's just a fact I lived with. I didn't chase the attention, but I didn't entirely ignore it either. I kept those moments, flirtatious comments, lingering looks, coffee invites from male coworkers, to myself. Not because I had anything to hide, but because I believed there was nothing worth confessing. I handled it. No lines were ever crossed. Miles, bless him, never asked. Never suspected. He trusted me completely. And while part of me admired that, another part quietly resented how he could be so oblivious to the fact that other men saw what he had. But maybe that's the difference between us. I noticed everything while he noticed only what I chose to show. For years I believed I was doing the right thing. Shielding him from unnecessary worry. Protecting our peaceful bubble. I kept the attention of other men as my little secret. Not because I wanted to act on anything, but because it reminded me I still had that pull. It made me feel alive in a way marriage sometimes didn't. But then came Elliot. He worked with me at my old job. And right before my wedding to Miles, Elliot made it very clear he wanted more than a casual friendship. He said I was making a mistake marrying Miles. That I could have a more exciting life. I shut him down immediately. Firmly. I never saw him again after I switched jobs. Years later, I learned through friends that Elliot was now working for a company that sometimes collaborated with Miles's firm. It was a small world after all. If they ran into each other, and if Elliot ever decided to speak casually about the past, it could all spiral. So I chose to tell Miles about Elliot, framing it as a long overdue confession brought on by guilt. Miles took it surprisingly well. He said he was glad I'd told him. That he was proud I'd stayed loyal. He asked if there was anything else I was hiding and I told him no. Because at the time that felt like the safest answer. But it was a lie. There was one more secret. One more truth I had buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself it didn't matter anymore. His name was Jasper, one of Miles's closest friends since college. They'd been roommates, traveled together, stood at each other's weddings. And a year before Miles and I got married, Jasper cornered me at a house party. He told me he had feelings for me. That he didn't think Miles was right for me. That we had something deeper. I was stunned, horrified. And I told him clearly that it was never going to happen. I made him promise never to mention it again. And he didn't. Not once. He stood beside Miles at our wedding, smiling, pretending like he hadn't tried to sabotage our future. I never told Miles. How could I? That would have destroyed everything. His friendship, our wedding, the peace I was trying to build. So I locked it away, convincing myself it was a one-time misstep, irrelevant now. But then I got pregnant. Our first child after years of trying. It should have been the happiest time of our lives. But pregnancy messes with your head. My emotions were all over the place. And the guilt I'd ignored for a decade started clawing its way out. I became more affectionate, overly sentimental, hugging Miles more, crying over nothing. He asked me over and over what was wrong. I blamed hormones. But eventually I cracked. It was Father's Day weekend. I wanted everything to be perfect, but I couldn't enjoy a second of it. I told Miles there was one more thing. Another man I'd shut down years ago. When I said Jasper's name, he froze. He didn't yell. He didn't speak for a while. But his silence said everything. When I explained how I had handled it, how I never acted on it, how I only kept it quiet to protect everyone, he barely registered it. All he heard was that I had lied to him. When he asked if there were others, I had looked him in the eye and denied it. And the betrayal wasn't just about Jasper. It was about every shared memory, every guy's trip, every golf outing Miles had enjoyed with a man who had tried to steal his future wife. From that moment on, Miles wasn't the same. He asked questions, lots of them, about other men, about old co-workers, about friends. He wasn't just angry, he was unraveling. He started calling it a pattern. He said trust wasn't about what didn't happen, it was about honesty, about full transparency. I tried defending myself. I reminded him of everything I'd done for our marriage. The career sacrifices, the support, the loyalty, the fact that I had stayed faithful. But it didn't matter. To him, the real betrayal wasn't a kiss or an affair. It was the lie of omission. The fact that I decided unilaterally what he deserved to know. Then came the worst part. He confronted Jasper. I begged him not to, but he said he had to hear it from the source. And of course Jasper denied it. Said I must have misunderstood. Said he'd never do that to Miles. And Miles believed him. Or wanted to. He told me I had no proof. No messages. No one else who saw it happen. It became a he said, she said. And I was the one being doubted. What followed was weeks of hell. Miles started pulling away from our friends. Gossip spread. I became the center of whispered conversations and subtle looks. Other wives pretended to comfort me while fishing for the juicy details. I couldn't even defend myself without sounding defensive. When my pregnancy complications landed me in the hospital, I thought it would finally snap Miles back into reality. But even while I was hooked to monitors, he was calling old college friends, digging for anything that would confirm or deny my story. By the time our baby was born, Miles was a ghost in our marriage. He was physically present but emotionally absent. When he admitted he'd met with a divorce attorney, just to understand his options, I knew it was over. We divorced when our child was 6 months old. His lawyer painted me as manipulative, as someone who withheld important truths and couldn't be trusted with full custody. And they won. I lost primary custody of my child. I'm still rebuilding. Still waking up some mornings wondering if I made a mistake telling the truth. But deep down, I know this wasn't just about one secret or one man. It was about the cracks I papered over for too long. It was about a man who loved an idea of me more than the reality of who I was. And now Miles is with someone new. A soft-spoken kindergarten teacher who shares hiking selfies and wears matching flannel. She doesn't challenge him. Doesn't complicate things. She's everything I'm not. And maybe that's the point.